You mentioned megabytes, broadband, Wi-Fi, satellites. You didn't once mention traditional radio or television.
There's probably a lot of things that could have gone in a speech that would have taken 3 hours to talk about, but of course today I just touched on some of those issues that I think are important to the regions.
Okay, so tell me about your commitment to traditional broadcasting, both analogue and digital radio and television. How important is it to regional Australia these days?
It's particularly important to regional Australia in those more rural and remote areas where often that is the only option for them. So it's something, of course, that we're very focused on, making sure that they get the services they need.
There's a huge change happening in media, particularly television. If I lived in Alice Springs 10 years ago, I would have been watching local television. Now I can get up my iPad and watch 7, 9, 10 ABC from Sydney, Melbourne, wherever. So the whole paradigm of broadcasting is changing. Your government has had an on and off relationship with changing the media laws. Where does that all stand now?
Well, the current media law reform is still in the Parliament. It went through the House of Representatives, of course, with the 70% reach rule and the 2 out of 3 ownership rule, yet to come before the Senate, so that's where that is at the moment.
Okay, I'm particularly interested in radio. You grew up in Sydney, you went to uni in Bathurst, there's some great radio stations there. You now live in Young. What's your local radio station?
2LF.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And we've got a community radio as well, which is 2YYY. So yeah, we're very well served by both.
How important is it that those businesses, as businesses, get the same kind of support you were talking about today for all sorts of other small businesses in regional Australia?
Well, they of course need to be able to operate efficiently and effectively, and one of the things that of course is very important about those types of radio stations is their community broadcasting and being able to talk about those local issues, and I'm very focused on ensuring that continues.
There's been a lot of changes. You're probably aware that the Fairfax Radio Network merged with Macquarie Media, so there were 2 big commercial radio newsrooms in the commercial sector. Now there's one. Any thoughts on that?
Well, look, there have been some changes, and many years ago I was part of the discussions around ensuring we had some safety nets for that local content. Certainly there's a requirement for that local content for news across radio. That's really important. I haven't had problems with my local radio stations at all. I'm sure that'll continue.
Digital radio for the bush, when's it coming?
Look, digital radio for the bush will be somewhere down the track, but I'm very focused on making sure that people out in the regions get access to that local broadcasting that they need. I'm talking about either community or commercial, where they're talking about those local issues that are important to those people living in those communities, and that's something I'm going to continue to be very focused on.
Okay, community radio is very different from the big national broadcaster and commercial broadcasting networks. They're just local people who you bump into at the shops every day, and they have a radio shift.
We're very fortunate in Young, of course, with our local radio station, to have people even in the commercial radio station that we bump into in the shops. So I recognise that doesn't happen everywhere, but certainly we're very fortunate where I live that it does.
So what additional support will you give to all of the sectors, ABC, commercial and community, in your time in government?
Well, I'll certainly, as Regional Development Minister, be making sure that I'm continuing to consult with them about how they see their future and indeed government's role in that.
Terrific. Thanks.